So it looks like a cross between Quidditch, but field hockey or lacrosse.
I was going to say field hockey, soccer, lacrosse.
But it looks like a league for people who enjoy drinking beer, but also being active. I could be wrong, but this is obviously. Hey folks, welcome back to Discovering Unique Hobbies, the podcast. I'm Zach, and I'm joined as always by my co-host Cody. Cody, say a little something into the camera.
Hello.
Today we're diving into the thrilling world of quadball with our special guest, Delaney Lindberg. Delaney is the team captain for the University of Pittsburgh Quadball Club team. This is episode 9, and we are about to explore the magic behind this unique hobby, sport, team activity. I'm very excited, which traces its roots potentially, we think, we're almost pretty much certain, back to the wizarding world of Quidditch. So here we go.
I've won a Harry Potter trivia session on a cruise. It was a pretty tough contest, and I won it. But I'm realizing now I'm rusty. I couldn't even give you a one-liner from a movie that was funny right now. Are you a fan of Harry Potter at all?
I've read the first book, maybe the second one. I don't really know. I'm not really good at finishing things once I start. But the movies were good. I've seen, I think, all of them at least once. But the first ones up to Goblet of Fire are my favorites. Goblet of Fire is where the movie peaked. And everything beyond that, I think, should just not be considered Harry Potter. But I don't know anything about the books. So that's just my outsider opinion. What is your favorite of the books and or movies?
The book is definitely Order of the Phoenix. The movie would probably be Part 1. Deathly Hallows Part 1.
Now, you got to look into how quadball itself is played, and the differences. Obviously, not the flying from Quidditch.
For me, it's just understanding. I can't quite, because I was a huge fan of the movie. The differences are, it's confusing the hell out of me, to be honest with you. So the way like the Seeker works confuses me. So I'm kind of lost there. I think when they explain it, it'll make more sense to me. But when I was reading the rules, it did not make sense because it just. I think I'll be able to ask it a little bit easier whenever we're talking to them. But it's kind of like, what is that person doing? So in the movies, it's the Seeker, which is Harry Potter on his team, and his entire objective is to get the Snitch. So I briefly saw that there's a Seeker on here, but again, just kind of confusing how it all worked together and how it looks on the field. And so there was that little bit of a video. It was the first time I actually saw it, like being played. So that helped a little bit, and I think it would make more sense out of seeing that.
I didn't really do much into looking into like the rules and stuff. I looked at. I think they have a World Cup. It was some kind of championship. A little video on YouTube, and it seemed like it was a cross between, I think I said, field hockey, maybe lacrosse, and obviously Quidditch, but there's no flying around. But I don't really know too much about it. I'm excited to learn, though.
For me, the history of it is really intriguing, and then where it's at now. How many universities? What university did it start at?
Yeah, that's where I was going.
Did it start at a university? That's assuming too.
Yeah,
could have been high school.
I wonder what kind of community comes with,
because your head immediately goes towards at least mine went immediately towards convention type people, but then maybe not. So I have no idea. And what is convention? Who am I? I've been to a convention, so that's the thing. That's what I love about this podcast, because it's kind of like breaking those molds of what you think things are and what they actually are, and things you might be interested in. So through my weekends as a prop dad, people talking to me about lifting weights and things, and I'm debating on whether that's a hobby or just something I do every day. But there's a lot of people asking me a lot of questions, and most of it is like, why? So I feel like it's a lot of the things like, when did you start? Why do you keep doing that to yourself? How do you find time for it? So I'm finding a lot of similarities of questions getting asked on maybe on the weekends and
Yeah.
stuff that we're asking on here, So
Yeah.
again, I'm still looking for that definition of what truly is a hobby, and maybe that is one that I have. It walks that line between a hobby and something that I need to do every day. Yeah.
Well, maybe we should start asking
Every
guests
hour.
from here on out, like what they think the definition of hobby is, because I've not looked that
Yeah.
up.
That's you think we would have. Wait, our podcast is called Discovering Unique Hobbies, and we don't know the definition of a hobby.
Yeah, what the hell is a hobby? I gotta figure this out.
Wait, hold on. What episode are we in now?
We're not almost at a decade. Just kidding.
Yeah. So we're at our 9th episode. Yeah, we're getting almost towards our 10th, and we're just now looking up what defines a hobby. But yeah,
we did. We definitely did. We definitely did. What was the first? Anyway, hobbies include collecting themed items and objects, engaging in creative and artistic pursuits, playing sports, or pursuing other amusements. That is not a definition. A hobby is something you enjoy doing. If you feel that learning a language is just for you to get a job, then that's not a hobby. It's considered to be regular activity that is done for enjoyment, typically during one's leisure time. Hobbies include collecting themed items and objects, engaging in creative and artistic pursuits, playing sports, or pursuing other amusements. So I think the word amusements is key.
You can get knocked out by I think it's a quaffle.
Knocked up by a quaffle?
No, knocked out by one of the balls used in the sport is pretty heavy.
Yeah.
So I was trying to transition there. You might get mad. I don't know if it's the quaffle or not. They'll have to refresh my memory. But so yeah, the balls are consistent with the movie. That is, do not clip that.
Anyway, that's a great time to segue to our first sponsor. I wish I had a sponsor.
Soups and Suds.
I'll be like Dave Portnoy, just make up
Team
a company.
Soups and Suds?
Yeah, let's do that. We should just make up fake sponsorships of fake companies. Now it's time to dive into the heart of today's episode. We are thrilled to introduce our special guest, Delaney Lindberg, team captain of the University of Pittsburgh Quadball team. Delaney's here to share insights into the fascinating world of quadball. So let's jump right in. Let's give up thumbs up. See if it gives us a thumbs up.
Is it? Yeah, it's certain.
Awesome. Hey, we got thumbs up again. Hi, Delaney. No, thank you so much for coming on. Cody is, we're both thrilled to have you, but Cody he loves Harry Potter. Let's just say that. And we're going to kind of see how much.
I'm a 41-year-old Harry Potter fan. It started, it was on set in my sophomore year of college when I became a fan. So, which was kind of cool.
Well, then you'll be happy to know that there are plenty of club teams.
Nice.
Oh, really? Well,
nice. That is something that we're hoping to get into tonight, to see how big this game has come and how much it's obviously morphed into something different from the game, from the books. So be careful if we just kind of go into get into the questions.
Yeah, let's go for it.
Awesome. So this wasn't on the list, but if you can, just tell us a little bit about you, and then kind of, if you can, segue that into how you first discovered quadball.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think we know the answer, but we're excited.
So it's probably a little more surprising than you'd expect.
Nice.
I am in my senior year at Pitt right now. I'm studying communications. I have a minor in gender, sexuality, and women's studies with a certificate in digital media. Pretty open-ended, not really sure where I'll go in the future. But I've always been a pretty big Harry Potter fan, just in the background. And now that I'm a senior, if you count back a few years, my first year at Pitt was the first year that everything was online with the COVID pandemic. So like all of our classes, all of the activities were online. So people weren't super involved in extracurriculars, myself included. And then going into my sophomore year, I was like, all right, I just lost an entire year of my college years. I need to actually get involved in some things, gonna hit the activities fair, talk to some friends, see what people are involved in. And I had just moved into my first off-campus apartment.
Nice.
So I was here about a week or two earlier than most people. And I just like was walking around campus the one day, and out on one of our main lawns, there was a group of people playing Quidditch.
Nice.
And for those that don't know, it is like the main sport of Harry Potter. And being a Harry Potter fan, I immediately recognized it in a way that most people probably wouldn't. And it was one of those like, oh my God, like they are running around with PVC pipe between their legs, throwing a ball in like 3 hoops, which is like the classic signifiers of Quidditch in a way that I was like, I've never seen anything like that before.
Yeah.
And it just had me cracking up. Like I like took like a little like side Snapchat videos. I was walking across the lawn and like send it to a bunch of my friends and be like, oh my God, this is the funniest thing ever. Like a bunch of people are playing Quidditch right now. This is so And then about a week or two later, once the semester started, we had our main activities fair.
Nice.
I was working that day, was heartbroken to have missed the fair because I was like, it's my sophomore year. I missed a full year. I need to get involved.
Yeah.
It was outdoors, got canceled and got pushed back another week later to the point that I could actually go. So it was just a bunch of like random little fate things that led to the point of me being like the 2 weeks late activities fair, just walking around by myself. Like all of my friends were busy. And I walked past the table of the Quidditch team and was like, wait, that's so funny. I didn't realize this was an actual sport. Like I was convinced that we're doing it for fun. I never would have thought that it was like a real collegiate sport that people played. So I talked to people at the table. They gave me all the information for tryouts, and I went to tryouts and have been on the team since. So I'm now on my 3rd year on the team. So it's 2 years on the team, and I'm now in my 3rd and final year, and now captain.
Nice.
Yeah,
that is amazing. I love that.
I can see Cody's excited.
Yeah. Nice. Yeah, I was gonna say so do you have a uniform? Like, do you wear do you wear the school colors?
We wear the school colors. Yeah, so we usually, I mean, we're like pretty flexible about it, but everybody has matching royal blue jerseys, and then we usually wear black shorts.
That is amazing.
Nice. So it is 100% derived from, just for those that didn't know, that it's derived from the Quidditch. Okay.
Yeah, so it has been adapted specifically in the last few years. Number one being the name change. It used to be the Quidditch team. It used to be the sport of Quidditch. There's a collegiate level, a club level, and then like a national and major league level. Yeah. So entirely, it used to be Quidditch. All of those leagues are now Quadball for like a number of different reasons, but a lot of the rule changes go with that also.
Nice.
So do you know much about the history, like as in which school it started at or anything like that?
So I don't know what school it started at. I know our team started in 2009. And I want to say, again, I don't remember what school, but I know it was in like the mid to late 2000s. So somewhere between 2005 and 2010 that it was originally founded. And it was just like a group of kids that I think were playing Ultimate Frisbee, and we're like, oh my God, wouldn't it be so funny if we played Quidditch instead? And that's how we started. So it was like one school that picked it up, like probably as like a for fun or intramural thing, and then it just kind of took off from there.
Exactly how I was kind of curious how it went. So it's like 100% like a university-backed club team?
Yep, ours is a club team. Awesome. I'm sure there are schools that have them as intramural teams, but for us specifically, we are a Pitt club team. So that means we go and play other schools. And for different universities, there is like I said, like a national governing body that you can be a part of. Okay. So we are part of that governing body that's US Quadball. And being a team that is not only a university club team, but also enrolled as a team with US Quadball, that gives us lots more opportunities to go and play other schools. It means there's tons of tournaments that we can go to. We're actually also part of a regional conference. So we're part of the App5 conference. That's us, that's Salisbury, it's UVA, it's Penn State. And there's a combination team of Virginia Tech and JMU because neither of the schools individually have enough people. So they have a combo team.
That's my stomping grounds.
Sorry?
That's your stomping grounds.
Yeah. So they have a combo team, and those are the teams we play most regularly. But there's also like larger national conferences, and then there's plenty of schools that also just have teams that aren't enrolled with USQ that will play like local tournaments that are unofficial games. So we actually have a tournament this weekend up against Case Western. They're technically an unofficial team because they're not registered with US Quadball. So we're just going to play some for fun games with them this weekend.
Nice.
So I do want to get to the point where, we break it down for people that are listening, that want to kind of discover this, meaning, first of all, like when is your season specifically for your club sport, but then also maybe let's start by explaining the positions, because I know Seeker obviously is very different for you guys than it is in the movies. So how many people are on each team, and can you explain each position? Is that
so okay? Teams total, you can have no more than 21 rostered per tournament. So we have 26 total people on our team. Depending on the school, depending on the popularity, they usually range anywhere from 10 to 25, even some with like 30 plus. There's even teams with like A and B teams. Like UVA is a massive team. Like they've got their starting line and then they've got like their B team. We have about 25, which is good because we travel to a lot of tournaments, and all being college students, like everyone has different schedules. So it's nice that we have over 21 people, so we can always hit just under that 21 person roster. And then the game is split into, the first half is 20 minutes, and then the second half is just as long as it takes to end the game, which is usually just about 20 minutes. So first 20 minutes, there's going to be 6 people on the field at a time. You have 3 chasers, you have 1 keeper, and you have 2 beaters. And then second half of the game is the same plus a seeker.
Nice.
So breaking those positions down, it is generally what you'd see in Harry Potter, for those that know what the positions are like in Harry Potter. For those that don't, I like to compare it to soccer for the chasers, in that everyone is generally a midfield player. So you're constantly going back and forth between offense and defense. The only difference between a keeper and a chaser is that they have some special privileges in the keeper zone, which is just 6 feet in front of the hoops or 6 yards in front of the hoops, 15 yards behind the hoops. And their regulation is just that they can't get beat. So moving into the beaters, they're going to be a pretty consistently more defensive position in that they're always trying to stop the other team from scoring. The chasers.
Those were the Weasley brothers, correct?
Yes, those are the Weasley brothers.
Point of reference.
Harry's obviously, everyone knows that. Ron winds up being the keeper.
Yes,
but for collegiate club MLQ, the chasers and keeper are going to use 1 volleyball between 4 total beaters on the team. There are 3 total dodgeballs. So that means 2 on one team will have a dodgeball, and then 1 person on the other team will always be fighting to get one of those dodgeballs back. So that's going to be like the bludgers. Those are the ones like it's generally a combination of like handball, dodgeball, and rugby all put together. So like the chaser's the keeper, they're throwing the volleyball around, they're trying to score the points on the hoops, and then the beaters are using dodgeballs to try to stop the chasers and the keeper from doing so.
That's awesome.
That was a great explanation.
Thank you. It's tough to explain, and it's tougher to watch when you're seeing it for the first time because there are so many things going on at the same time. And then when you throw the seeker in, it gets even more hectic. But the nice thing is, for every game, it's actually like regulation written in the rule book that to be playing in any game on any team, the chasers always have to wear white headbands. The keepers have to wear a green headband. The beaters have to wear black headbands, and the seeker has to wear a yellow headband. So no matter what position you are, or if you're just a spectator watching the game, you can always tell who is what position when.
That's cool.
It was a thought that entered my head, because how would, if you're just somebody watching the game, a spectator, how would you know whose role is what? Just by watching it.
It's one of those secret little things that like you have to know, or somebody has to tell you going into it. But as soon as you know that part of the game, it makes it a lot easier to follow what's going on, especially when you're playing up against other teams. Like obviously I on my team know who's our chasers, who's our beaters, but looking at other teams, like I always want to be aware of who's trying to beat me or who's going to try to stop the ball, because the chasers can't touch the dodgeballs unless you're getting beat, and the beaters can't touch the volleyball unless they're blocking it with the dodgeball if it's in the air.
I've not done a dodgeball in ages. I miss the sound it makes when it hits someone.
I started out as a beater and wound up switching to be a chaser pretty quickly because it was it was not a position.
That sounds awesome.
Yes.
Though.
It's so much fun.
Yeah. So when is your season? Like what time of the year? Like when did it start? It's all year.
All year. Yep.
Wow. Okay. And how many games in a year would you say you play on average?
It depends on the year. It depends on people's schedules and who's available when. We try to do at minimum 1 tournament a month. We've been pretty lucky. Most months we've had at least 2.
Nice.
And those tournaments will usually have anywhere between 3 and 6 games. They're like all day Saturdays, which is nice because we can drive out in the morning, we'll play for a day, and then we'll drive back, which winds up working out pretty well for people's schedules. So if we're saying 8 months, we'll say 5 games, like 40-ish.
Okay.
That's a decent
So
amount, yeah.
it's the way it's structured, if you are part of US Quadball, which again we are, it's pretty much like you play a few tournaments to get some standings during the fall semester. At the end of the fall semester, you play a regionals tournament.
Okay.
Regional tournament generally sets you up with a bid to nationals. You'll play some more tournaments to reset your standings in the beginning of the spring, and then nationals at the end of spring.
I like it. Now, is this something that, folks on your team, or maybe even in like the region going down to, UVA, Virginia Tech, JMU, are you seeing more people tend to go pro, or, going to like the major, I think it's Major League Quadball?
Yeah, Major League is actually nice because they only do summers.
Okay.
So you can be a collegiate or club player and play MLQ at the same time.
Oh,
It's
nice.
definitely
It's like Victor Crumb.
just like Victor Crumb. Yeah, just like Victor Crumb. So I don't know if I would say more or less. I know plenty of people that are on club teams that love playing club teams.
Yeah.
The tough thing is that it really does depend on your location, whether or not you play. So like right now I'm graduating in a month. I would love to play club after I graduate, but like I don't have a set job lined up. I don't really have a city that I have my heart set on at the moment.
Yeah.
But I think for a lot of people, it's kind of like if there's somewhere in my region that it can work out, that's awesome.
Yeah.
If not, that's okay too. I know a lot of people have only played club. We found out about it. I know plenty of people that went from the collegiate to club pipeline. I just think it's totally dependent on the person.
I like it.
Yeah.
I think it'd be very cool to play a club.
Oh yeah. The rules between collegiate and club are pretty similar, but it's
Yeah.
a little. I actually just played my first club tournament recently.
Okay.
Pitt's team has no more official tournaments for the rest of the semester. Like I said, Case Western is unofficial this weekend.
Mhm.
And I have some club player friends, and they just recently had a tournament, and they were like, "Well, if you don't have any more official tournaments, you could technically transfer to our team and play with us this weekend." So club is kind of scary because you're up against as like a 22-year-old in college, like I was playing up against 35-year-old dudes throwing me around. So it was a little scarier than being against pretty much all people that are in my age range and skill level, but super fun.
And those people have probably been doing it before you knew about the movies.
100%.
Yeah, so that's a good. So yeah, is it common to not be like? How common is it to get into this and not be a Harry Potter fan at all?
Great question.
Honestly, it's more common than you'd think.
Nice.
Especially with the name change. That was a big push for it. Like we are an all gender sport, which means we're a very trans inclusive sport, which means being associated with someone like J.K. Rowling is a little critical.
I didn't know how to approach that.
I didn't even think about that. Yeah.
No, so it's there's some tensions there.
The entire sport is something that she created. And
yeah,
I did not even think about that.
I had a hunch that might have played a little bit into the name change. I just wasn't sure. But yeah, awesome.
That was absolutely one of the big things that went to the name change. It was a pretty even split between Disney now owning Harry Potter, so licensing for anything is ridiculously expensive, and also like the moral ethical dilemma of like we are a highly trans inclusive sport that is directly derived from someone that has openly transphobic views. So big name change.
Does the name even in general, it just sounds more of accepting. You take all that aside, just Quadball sounds outside of takes the Harry Potter out of it just in general. Just say even like that part of it, maybe you don't share that view. And I could see people be like, yeah, I'm going to play some Quadball, man. Yeah, this is great.
Yeah.
So
which was a big part of it also. It was a little bit of a pro and con, a give and take in the rebranding period of now calling it Quadball. You have a much stronger pull for the people that aren't Harry Potter fans
Yeah.
Because you can just describe it as like, oh, we have this super cool, unique sport that a lot of people don't know anything about. It's a combo of like handball, dodgeball, rugby. So you can play all of those sports in one.
Yeah.
But then to keep the Harry Potter fan aspect of it, all you have to say is it's derived from Quidditch, and people still know exactly what you're talking about if that's their draw to the sport. So when people ask me what sport I play, when I say quadball, they're like, oh, what's that? My immediate response is like, oh, are you a Harry Potter fan? Because if they are, then it's super easy to be like, oh, it's just Quidditch. And if they're not, then I can explain the sports. You have a good balance of like being able to have both ends of the recruitment there. But so that was the big push for the name change and some of the rebranding.
Okay. I like it. I like it. No.
Yeah, it's a super interesting transition and how it all changed out. And we like the all inclusiveness is great because we keep talking about hobbies that maybe other people don't understand because of preconceived notions or people aren't accepted. And so to hear it's an all-inclusive sport is a huge thing because you really don't hear those two things a lot, at least not around my generation. And to know that there's one out there that is just accepting across the board is definitely something pretty cool because that's what, like when we were talking about the Dungeons and Dragons, it's a world that I don't understand, but they're accepting to pretty much anybody, and that's always encouraging. It sounds like this is as well.
Yeah, it was honestly one of the biggest draws of the sport. Like again, like I was a Harry Potter fan. It was fun to be pulled into it.
Yeah.
But in looking between the why I joined the team, why I stayed on the team, the like inclusivity and the support and the family aspect of the team we have is the number one thing that held me on the team.
Yeah, that's a good segue. I had an idea, like, what's the community around, maybe your team, the teams in the region? I mean, is this a network of, folks that, I was in the business fraternity during undergrad. Is this something that you'll hope that goes beyond,
Yeah.
graduation? Crazy
absolutely.
enough next month.
Yeah. Crazy enough next month. But I can't even begin to explain the transition I've had individually on the team between previous years and this year specifically being captain of the team.
Nice.
But I mean it from the bottom of my heart when I say like I have found lifelong friends, not only on this team, but in the organization in general. Specifically with our conference, like we have played the same teams over and over and over again this year. Yep. And unlike any sport that I've ever played, and I grew up playing soccer and softball and ran track and field, like I've been around different sports, and like you find your friends on your teams, you find the people that you're close with. But this is the first time I can ever say with complete confidence that playing the same teams over and over again, even in just the last few months, like seeing them maybe once a month throughout the last 2 semesters, I am on like a first name basis with 5 to 10 people per team. And it's like, that's maybe awesome. Like playing soccer growing up, it was like a year to year, you would remember like the good players' numbers so you knew who to watch out for.
Nice.
Sure.
Playing this sport, it's like I go to tournaments excited, not only to like play the different teams, but to see my friends.
Yeah.
In a way that there is such like a close-knit community that upholds the competition of the sport, which is really important. Like I've always been a pretty competitive person. Like I tend to think I'm pretty athletic. But it is so nice to be able to have that competition and have that athleticism and have that like head-to-head team atmosphere without there being real hate or tension in any way. Where like I'll go into a tournament with the same people that I've seen at the last few tournaments, like give all my friends a hug on the other teams. And then we'll be like, all right, we're not going to be friends for the next 4 hours. And it'll be like big hugs, like see you all soon. We're all in contact on social media. Like I'm talking to these people all the time. And like, that's just something I never would have imagined in an athletic sphere. To the point that it's like not only the teams that I'm playing, but even like the refs in the conference. Generally, like we're pretty lucky that
didn't even think about refs.
Yeah. a lot of the collegiate refs are club players, which is how I wound up playing on the club team recently because I just became friends with all of our club player refs.
So cool.
It was one of the refs that like usually refs our games that texted me and was like, "Hey, we love seeing you play. Like you should come play for our team." So just little things like that, being able to have that community spirit and like get to know people in a way that is, to me, so foreign to most athletics is phenomenal.
That is amazing. And speaking of I can't talk tonight. Speaking of athletics, I didn't even think to ask you about any equipment. We always talk about how much a hobby costs or sport or whatever it is we're trying to discuss.
This could be the adult show and tell segment.
Well, I'm assuming you're not buying a Nimbus 2024. So
I was very curious about this.
I'm not buying a Nimbus 2004. This is my generally favorite part of the explanation is going over the equipment.
Nice.
We are pretty lucky that we do have like club funds built up through Pitt. So we do lots of fundraising, but we also like every club sport here, every club in general here gets a certain section of funding. So we have a general large set of equipment that has been passed down through the years. So I don't have all of it with me to show, but I do have a few specific things.
That's cool.
So there's like these giant heavy wooden bases and like big tall PVC pipes that hold the hoops. So that's just like all breakdown compactable. We like set those up at every tournament, every practice also. We've got our big like soccer ball bag that has all of our volleyballs, all of our dodgeballs. Our brooms are like size regulated PVC pipe. When the sport first started, they did use actual brooms, and they even wore like the Harry Potter capes and stuff. It wound up not being super realistic for the sport in actuality.
I'm hoping we can get some clip of that somewhere.
No.
Yeah, you can totally find them online, but people splintered really bad with the brooms. They were more likely to break. So they eventually did get rid of the capes, and we now use PVC pipe just because it's like safer and has the same size and width and such. But my favorite part, because we actually didn't even talk about like the seeker and seeking when we were talking about
the second. Yeah, we didn't talk about the second half earlier, I don't think. We
didn't talk about the second half. Second half functions almost identically to the first half, besides the fact that there's a seeker involved and they set a score. So the way the game ends, I know I said it's like the first 20 minutes and then it's whenever the game ends. In Harry Potter, the game ends when you catch the snitch. That is how they founded the sport, but that's not how it works anymore. At this point, whoever has the leading score at the end of the first 20 minutes, they add 60 points to that, and then that is the set score of the game. Whoever hits that number first winds up winning the game.
Oh, that makes way more sense.
Yeah, so every time you score through the hoop, that's 10 points. So if you have a really slow first half, and we'll say 20 minutes is ended at 30 to 20, you add the 60 to the 30, and then the set score is 90. First team to reach 90, that's who wins the game. If you catch the snitch, which is now called the flag, the person that is the snitch is called the flag runner. The team that catches the flag gets 35 points to their team. So if you're like falling a few points behind, the snitch can be a huge make or break for your team. If you're playing really well against another team, the snitch will usually end you the game. So I do have the snitch shorts to show you again. It's not called the flag runner, but I'll always call them the snitch. My first one is what the actual snitch looks like. If anybody doesn't know, you're not a Harry Potter fan. This is just a little collectible dog.
There it is.
Nice.
Than like the Harry Potter snitch, so it fits a little smaller in your palm. Like in Harry Potter flies, and everybody's like soaring around trying to find and catch the snitch. In collegiate club MLQ, the snitch, the flag runner, is usually like a big beefy dude or someone who's super fast, and they wear these little tiny gold shorts.
Chubbies.
A tennis ball in a sock, either Velcroed or magneted to the tailbone of the shorts. And to catch the flag, you just pull it off. But when you're running around on a broomstick, and because I'm one of our seekers, so for personal experience, when you're like a fairly thin woman and you're getting thrown to the ground by like 200-pound men don't have a broomstick, when you do have a broomstick between your legs, not exactly the easiest. So if you're ever looking, you really want to like hone in on what is the experience of Quadball. Fast forward into like 20 minutes in some game footage on YouTube, because that's when you'll see the seeker play. So you get to see everything happening at once. And like it could be my personal bias being a seeker, but that is my favorite part of the game, is when you have everything happening at once. It's super hectic. Everybody's super invested, and it's so fun.
I like it.
Yeah, Zach, we have to get a video of us watching that live together at some point.
Yeah. So Delaney, every episode, I'd say that I want to have some kind of video component, companion piece to the episode. I think it would be awesome throwing Cody in the mix, not myself. I have bad knees. So throw Cody in the mix and see how he does. I think that'd be so cool. Or just watch. That would be cool too.
It's super fun. If we have a fantasy tournament at JMU on April 20th, and anyone can sign up for $15.
A fantasy tournament.
It's your favorite day of the year, man. Go ahead.
We'll see. I'll have to figure that out.
Harrisonburg's a long way, man.
Wait, where is it at?
The JMU.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. I'm a dance dad. I'll probably be away in some town in Ohio that weekend. But yeah, we do have to.
I hope you're in Harrisonburg.
Some way we have to check this out. I do want to give it a shot somehow, some way, because as somebody I'm looking at I'm in my office right now, and I have my Slytherin wand, my owl with my Slytherin scarf on it, my daughter's wand, and a couple other pieces of the little cards from the chocolates.
I love that. My apartment is covered in memorabilia.
So what house are you?
I'm a Ravenclaw.
Ooh, okay.
I respect that.
That's smart. Yeah. What about you, Zach? Did you ever take the test?
Obviously, Gryffindor, man. Shut up. Obviously, I have no idea, man.
All right, I gotta get you.
I think I've done one of those like internet quizzes, like Facebook, like what's your sorting hat thing. I never got Gryffindor. I think I've only ever gotten Ravenclaw, maybe Slytherin. I don't know, but I'd have to do it again. That'd be fun.
I was gonna say at first impression read, I would guess Gryffindor or Slytherin.
Bingo. See, told you, Cody. First impressions are always 100% exactly how things turn out.
Yeah, so we have Zach and I have adult ADHD, and we bounced back.
Yeah, it's bad.
First, then you allowed you to explain the second half. Then we started on the equipment. Zach reminded us for you to go back to the second half. So let's continue back to the equipment.
Yeah.
So and that's on us. This is just how our brains are going here.
Oh no, that's okay. I'm 100% following along.
I kind of tell
it's working. Yeah, it's working. It's working
on the constant questioning my own undiagnosed ADHD, I'm doing totally fine with this conversation.
Yeah, I was wondering why it was going so seamlessly. Usually the people on the other side cannot follow along. This is awesome. So yeah. So I think we were at the PVC pipe, the rings. And then I honestly can't remember beyond that for the equipment that you would.
That's about it. It's honestly not a super intense game. I think the only other things is the headband. That's technically part of the equipment. You are also required to wear a mouth guard, which is like the funniest part of the sport, because on top of being like the nerd sport, because it's Harry Potter, like you get all these like action shots of people with like horrible faces with their mouth guards falling out of their mouths.
This sounds amazing. I have to do this.
I
love it. Yeah, I mean, listen, it's about having fun. And as somebody who played, organized sports, there's a lot of it that wasn't fun. A lot of it that was, but to see a sport that is out there just that literally allows anybody to go try is awesome sounding to me.
Yeah.
So
we talk about ADHD quite a bit. That was a big reason I kind of decided to start this podcast, because I bounced from hobby to hobby. Mm-hmm. So, kind of, not saying that you diagnosed yourself or anything like that, but, is that kind of your high energy been something that has kind of fueled you into the hobby of quadball, or do you have other hobbies as well?
Yeah. I've always considered myself to be a little bit in like the jack of all trades, master of none type of personality, and that like I'm always interested in trying different things, doing different things. And I do think one of the things that really like held me and gripped me about the sport is that you have so many different things going on at once.
Yeah.
Because all of the different positions, they're like generally interlocked, but there's tons of different things to focus on, tons of different things to figure out at the same time. So I have, like I said, I like bounced around to different sports growing up. I've always been involved in different activities. but it is totally now having that like consistently high energy, tons of different things going on that has really pulled me into this one specifically.
I relate to that because for me, I've recently really gotten to soccer myself over the last couple of years, and there's something about the ball constantly going back and forth, or the set pieces or what have you. This constantly. There's no chance to look at my phone.
Yeah.
And when there's like football, I'm a huge, American football, baseball fan. Obviously, very boring. A lot of time to look at your phone to get distracted. So I get that.
Yeah, and the cool thing is well, one of the crazy things is you'll never stop having the energy. 20 years later. 20 years
awesome.
later. Yeah, but I mean, it just gives you. But you do get super focused on the things you do eventually want to get super focused into.
Yeah.
But not until you try everything under the sun, which is fun. But yeah, that's kind of where, the podcast is one of the things that I randomly was going to try. And Zach and I used to work together, and then I called him one day, or I randomly, because him and I had talked about it. One of the many ADHD, like 100 times we brought up this podcast. And then one day I messaged him on Facebook like last year, and I was like, "Hey man, you want to do this podcast?" He goes, "Sure, I got an idea." And then he came up with this. And then it's just like this kind of stuff is, and same thing with the Quidditch stuff. You're walking around campus, and then all of a sudden, boom, there it is. That's because you couldn't sit still. You get out of the house, and that's just the way apparently that we're us three are wired, and many others.
Yeah, and it's also super fun to like have something like positive to occupy your time with. Yeah, especially in terms of like hobbies and like giving yourself like a hyperfixation to have.
Yes.
I feel like so much of like the things you see in the media and like on the news, like it's all just negative now. So having something that's like passionate, important, and like like a podcast to listen to that's like fun and unique hobbies, like that is just something positive to give people something to occupy their time with. So I commend you for doing that. It's super fun.
Kind of it's becoming more of a passion project, I guess, in a sense for me, because
stuff that we never knew. Quadball. Yeah, getting back to Quadball. Circle it back. We're coming back. So what is it? What is the role of a team cap? I just saw in the notes that obviously that you're the team captain. What is the role of the team captain on the field?
So tons of morale. That's a big one for me. Honestly, my big draw to it. But different than many sports. Generally at the intramural and club level, it's common for collegiate sports not to have a coach. So I'm like the team captain, which for a lot of sports would mean like, you're like helping lead the team, you're boosting morale. But the big difference for us and for a lot of the other collegiate teams in general, but specifically for collegiate quadball teams, is that you don't have a coach. So the captain is simultaneously like the morale leader, but also actually running all the practices, like coaching the team all the time. My pro and con of having like numerous stupid injuries playing this semester is that it's given me better time to coach because it's hard to play and coach at the same time. So our team breakdown, we usually run our practices split between chasers and beaters. So I'm our team captain, and then we also have a chaser captain and a beater captain. So I'm doing a lot of the planning, a lot of the event coordinating, a lot of the communication with people in the commission or in the conference. And then our two other captains, Jim and Kevin. Jim is our chaser captain, so him and I work pretty closely together because I'm also a chaser. And then Kevin is our beater captain, so he's doing most of the beater work. And the three of us do lots of work together. So I'm usually like the forefront person doing the direct communication, a lot of the event planning, and then they're always helping me out with like running practices, making sure things are running smoothly, running strategy and stuff like that.
Nice. I had a question just popped to my mind, if you don't mind me asking. You mentioned that you played chaser and seeker. Can you switch from the first half chaser, then play the seeker the second half? Is that what you do?
Yeah, you can play any position at any time as long as you have a colored headband to do it.
Okay, cool.
So they usually call them utility players, as a person that plays multiple positions. So for most of the game, I'll be a chaser. For the time that we have a seeker, and I'll be a seeker. Our other main seeker, his name is Kel. He's also a beater, so he'll play beater for most of the time. And then Kel and I will switch in and out between seeking, and depending on how quickly seeker play goes, hopefully fairly quickly with one of us catching the snitch. It's usually that one of us will hop in and out. We'll be in and out for each other's sub. And then once seeker play is over, we'll go back to our standard positions as chaser and beater.
Nice. What's like maybe think what's the quickest someone has found it or caught it?
Oh God, we've had some pretty quick ones. I mean, you can run out as soon as seeker play starts. They'll count the beginning of the first half, and then 10 seconds later is when the seekers can enter play. So it's usually like they'll give everyone else on the field a second to like start their offensive drive or set up their defensive positioning, and then they'll count down 10 seconds, and that's when seekers are released. There have been games where someone runs up and catches it right away. I would say generally the quicker ones are caught 30 seconds to a minute.
Okay.
And then the ones that take a little longer. I mean, there are plenty of games where the snitch never gets caught if you have a really good flag runner. They're just totally running you into the ground. It's also common because the seeker can also get beat while they're in play. So if the beaters are coming up and back and you have a seeker that's constantly on, they call it control or dominance when a team has both dodgeballs. So if a team has control, they're more likely to keep one of their beaters on seeker play, just like constantly tapping out the other seeker to give their own team a better chance. So if you have a team with really good beaters that are constantly in control of the dodgeballs, like seekers kind of just screwed in what they can do because they're probably just getting beat back. And like every time you get beat, in obviously like in actual Harry Potter, you probably just fall off your broom and get injured. But in Quadball, every time you get hit with the dodgeball, you have to take your broom out from in between your legs, and then you run back, tap the center hoop of the hoops that you're defending, and that's how you get back in play.
Nice.
Yeah, so generally, like, the seeker kind of floats around the midline of the field, like running back and forth along the midline just to stay out of the way of offensive and defensive play, and also to give neither seeker an advantage or a disadvantage if they're getting beat. So you run generally equal distances if either one of you are getting beat back to your own hoops. So it's just exhausting, and I'm speaking totally from personal experience right now. Exhausting to be a seeker when the other team has consistent quadball or dodgeball control, and you're just getting beat, running back, holding the broom, get a shot to attempt to catch the snitch because you're just beat, you're running back, you're beat, you're running back. So those are the unfortunate ones, and usually the ones that need to go really quickly because it just totally gives the opposite team a chance to get in there one-on-one with the flag runner, or if the team doesn't have a great seeker, which also happens sometimes, that they purposely put the beaters on. If they know they're up against a good seeker on the other team, they'll really just try to keep the opposing team seeker entirely off play. So it's seeker play. Again, it's all just like you never know what's going to happen. My favorite part of like the hyperfixation is like there's always so much unknown and so many different things happening at the same time.
Yeah. I'm excited to dive into it a little bit more.
Super
I want to
fun.
see more of the like, even club, collegiate, up to even I think I saw that there was a World Cup.
There's a World Cup. There's a World Cup. We have nationals at the end of April this year. That'll be somewhere in Texas. So that is like USQ nationals. But then there is also a collegiate, or not a collegiate, like an international World Cup. At the tournament I played at a few weeks ago with the club teams, like we were playing up against a team that was absolutely destroying us, and it was just one of those like you got to just have fun and enjoy it because the team we were playing had like 4 or 5 different people that were on the U.S. international team.
It's so awesome that there's like these different levels. You know what I mean? When you think about like the entirety of the world,
I just think it'd be cool. I'm thinking like from countrywide, like see like Team Ireland, like getting really excited backing their team, like in the movie. I think that would be so cool to see. I love those big sporting events. Like the World Cup's my favorite, so that's awesome.
Yeah, they've toned it down a little bit over the years, but even at like the USQ nationals, they'll usually have like big merch stands and big food trucks. It's pretty common that they'll have like a big butterbeer truck set out. So again, moving back a little bit from it with like licensing and then the name change and everything. But when it was Quidditch, they were all in on like the Harry Potter memorabilia and the food and the snacks and drinks and everything, all set up at the national tournament, the World Cup.
Well, you may not know. I was gonna say you may not know this because obviously you're tied in with your club sport and everything. But do you know if there's like a group of the sport that stayed? You like, you know what? We're saying this is Quidditch. We're gonna keep doing it like this. It's still gonna have a strong Harry Potter. Like, is there a community out there still?
Yeah, some of the unofficial teams will. like Case Western, they're still like a Quidditch team according to the school. But if you are enrolled with US Quadball as like the national governing organization, you technically have to be a Quadball team. But I'm sure there are plenty of other like schools and small teams that just play for fun that are still Quidditch teams.
Okay. You mentioned Virginia Tech earlier. So I lived in Blacksburg in 2010. I didn't go to Tech, but I was on campus a lot. And I saw people playing with the broom and the cape, not the cape, but the what have you, I guess cape. And
totally the cape, yeah.
Yeah. And it was at the time I'm like, what in the world is this? Because it was, still in its infancy stage, I guess. But it was really cool to see. It's cool to see. I was going to try to mention that earlier. Now, what is, I guess, maybe your favorite, now you're kind of, on the back end of your collegiate career, what is if you can share it, your favorite memory since joining the team?
Okay, so this is tough. I have
or memories.
Memories is probably the better answer. I think the two biggest that really live in my mind were the first time I ever caught the snitch.
Nice.
That was in a home tournament against Penn State. We were supposed to have a few other teams coming. Everyone wound up dropping last minute. And for those that don't know, there's a pretty big Pitt-Penn State rivalry. We're not exactly each other's biggest fans. So this wound up just being 3 back-to-back Pitt versus Penn State games. And it was in our last game of the day. We had already won 2 so far. So we were hoping for a 3-3. And this was my first year playing, that I was super new to the sport, still had no idea what I was doing, because with all of the rules and the different positions, like it takes you at least a year to really feel like you understand the sport. I was still a little all over the place, but our seekers were just gassed at the end of 2 games, and we only had 2 at the time. And again, like it can be a lot of, the whole sport is a lot of running, but seeking specifically, especially if you've got the beaters on, it can be a lot of exhausting, just constant running.
Yeah.
And our seekers were exhausted. I think we had 1 person injured, and our captain at the time was like, we need another seeker right now. Like, we just need somebody going seeking. And I always joked that I never wanted to be a seeker because the tennis ball is literally like Velcroed, usually to a man's tailbone. And I was like, I can never be a seeker because I'm terrified of grabbing the wrong ball. And so when I brought it up, I was entirely joking because at the time it was very much like, I don't think I can do that. Like, that's so scary. Don't want to bother anyone. And so, but when our captain was like, we need another seeker right now, I just joked to him. And I was like, oh, I was a soccer goalie my whole life. Like, I'm not afraid to throw myself, like dive at the ground, because it is physical to be a seeker. Specifically because like it is a full contact sport. Like, there's always tackling going on. But because the flag runner doesn't have a broom, they always have 2 arms for physicality. Whereas if you're playing with a broom, you usually have 1 hand on the broom, which generally leaves you with 1 hand for physicality if you're any other player. So I was like, I'm not afraid to like throw myself at the ground. Like, I grew up with brothers. Like, I'm used to being pretty physical, and said it entirely as a joke. And he turned to me and he was like, awesome, there's an extra yellow headband. Like, you're up next. And I was like, oh, well, it's my first year and I haven't really gotten any playing time this game. I'll take it.
Let's go.
I went in. And like I'm pretty tall for a woman, so I've got pretty long arms, and I always say that is like my claim to fame in seeking. It's just that I have long arms, so it works out well for me. I went in, tired myself out, took a sub, had someone else going for a few minutes. He still didn't catch it. We subbed back in, and I caught it as like the game-ending points, because that was just over the edge of it. That it was still like the set score at that point. So it was my first year playing. It might have been my first tournament playing. I was just coming off of bronchitis, so I was barely playing the whole day. And it was one of those like dramatic movie scenes of like game-winning score. Like the whole team, both of our captains like come out, like everybody's like jumping in a hug. Like we're 3 for 3 against Penn State. That was awesome. So that always lives up there as one of my favorite early memories.
No, that's incredible though.
Yeah, that's probably like my good big team memory. One of my like game memories. One of my favorite team memories is from last year. big part of why I became captain this year is that, like I said, because of the pandemic, people weren't super involved for us and for tons of other teams. The COVID year and the year after, and even the year after a little bit, were really tough recruiting years for the sport. So up until this year, I was the only player of my year. So my sophomore year, I was the only sophomore on the team. My junior year, I was the only junior on the team. And the seniors that graduated last year, so now all in like their first full year of real adulthood, just because I was always a little off of like the seniors had their big friend group, all of the kids that were under me had their friend groups. I never really quite fit in on like the upperclassmen or the underclassmen. But I'm an early 21st birthday for my year. So I just got kind of like sucked into like the 21 and up group chat of the team. So like all of the seniors of last year just kind of took me in under their wing. Like I was like the young kid and becoming super close with them. And when all of them graduated last year, we quite literally lost half of our team. So it was a big change.
A lot of recruiting needs.
A lot of recruiting needs. But it was our very last event of the year last year when like I had become so close with the seniors, like pretty much all of my closest friends on the team were graduating, and we just had like one big final social event. Most teams will call them superlatives. Whoever invented them for us must have been an office hand because we've historically called them the Dundies.
Nice.
So our traditional last social event is the Dundies, and it's always the captains that assign a Dundie for precisely right there. It's always the captains that assign individual Dundies to every person on the team. So that was our last big social event. So it was Dundies last year. That was also when these elections. So that was when I got elected captain. And it was like the last big team event with all of the seniors. And like a few of the seniors gave senior speeches and like everybody was super emotional. So it was just like a really, really good last team bonding. And I really struggled last year as like I was so close with all of the seniors on the team and all of them were leaving. I wasn't super close with a lot of the underclassmen. So it was honestly a struggle of like, how am I going to go ahead leading this team, not having all of these people that inspired me and motivated me so much. But it was kind of like that give or take of like, I can either be negative about this and be upset that all of them are leaving, or like take everything that all of them taught me, not only as players on the team, but like as friends and as people and as leaders, both on and off the field. And so that was like the big thing for me. And like that night was like this is the time that I'm going to 100% commit to like, I'm going to take everything, all of those people, like all of my closest friends on the team, like taught me and helped me learn as a player and as a person, and like give that forward to the team for the rest of the year. So just that night entirely is like why I love this team so much.
I love it. Awesome. I love it. It obviously means a lot to you.
Yeah.
There's definitely passion there. That's the one thing that is always with any hobby is that we've had on here. That passion's there.
Yeah.
Somewhere, some way, you know?
It's one of those things. Like I'm a recruiter professionally, and I always say that you can hear someone's energy on the other phone, like on the other side of the phone. And like for those that aren't watching, you can hear the passion. So that's awesome.
Thank you. It is super important to me.
Yeah. So I know that you're usually pressed for time here, and I know we probably should try to round out. Same story for tonight, or you go for a couple other questions?
I'm actually good tonight for a little bit longer, Zach.
Okay, cool. So speaking of that, so obviously are you okay for a couple more questions?
Yeah, no, I'm good.
Awesome. So
I had no idea what time it was, so I was just checking. But
I keep watching, just trying to make sure we're good. So obviously there's some recruiting needs moving forward. Obviously with so many people leaving, now you're going to be heading out. What is something that you can say to the folks that you're going to be leaving in charge, and then B to any prospective Pitt students that may be looking for a team to join?
Yeah. So I think I was actually just talking to one of my teammates about this the other day. One of our freshmen on the team just came in like super motivated, super excited, huge drive. And I was just talking to him the other day about like his concerns in his first semester on the team of like what are we going to do when you guys leave?
Right.
And so I think just generally, like, on both sides, honestly, for those already on the team and for those that might be looking for a team to join, like, I think the biggest thing is just to be consistently open-minded and like open to the possibilities. One of the biggest, I think, deterrents for the sport in general is that it's generally not a sport anyone has ever played before. Like, the likelihood of someone learning what we're about and learning what the team is and being like, oh, I have tons of experience. Like, it just doesn't happen on our team.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know a singular person that's been in my 3 years on the team. We definitely don't have anyone now. And in the last 2 years I've played, like, I don't know anyone that played on a Quidditch or Quadball team before joining our team.
Right.
But I think the biggest thing is just to like be open-minded to it. We always say if you have literally any sport experience whatsoever, you'll be able to adapt what you know to playing the sport. It's also just more fun because there's more things going on. So I think that would be like the general advice to anyone is like be open-minded. Like, it doesn't just have to be about Harry Potter. It's not just a Harry Potter sport. Like, it is totally for anyone and everyone that's just looking for not only something fun and competitive and athletic to do, but looking for a really strong community, because we totally have that like family loving team. Like, we're always like supporting each other, and that's super important. So you have not only like that camaraderie as a sport, but the team, the family, the support system, like genuine lasting friends on the team. So that would be the general piece.
I like it.
I think for people on the team, like my biggest advice is still open-mindedness, but in a different way. The sport is always changing. There's always different things happening. I don't mean just like in a game, because there's lots of things going on in the game. But like, they're always reevaluating the rule book. They're always trying to bring in different things. They're like changing the gender rules that we have. So the sport is constantly changing game to game and year to year. I think because there's so many things going on, there's always more to learn. One of the most difficult things in being captain this year was just like the imposter syndrome that I felt, and like I do not and honestly cannot know everything about this sport ever. So trying to rationalize that while also knowing like I'm supposed to be the leader of this team, like I am supposed to be the one that knows more than anyone else on the team. I think it is just so important to remember that we are a team for a reason. And like so much of that is depending on one another and being able to work together. And like it is competitive. Like everybody wants to be the one to score the goals. Like everybody wants to be the best player on the team. And that is natural in a sport. But it is also still a team atmosphere. And we have like that family love and those ties to be able to depend on one another. Like I think for, again, tying together both people on the team and off the team, just being able to like be open to that, always willing to learn, always being willing to support one another, like as people and as teammates.
Nice. All of that. Now, I was going to see, Cody, do you have anything that you kind of want to round out with yourself?
I was wondering if there is a day in the life of a quad ball player out there on TikTok or something, because I'd be super interested in that.
Of course, I'm a quad ball.
I think you guys are following our Instagram. We usually try to do daily tournament takeovers. For anyone that's listening, it's just at QC Pit. Definitely follow us on Instagram.
I have to get it. I gotta. No excuses here, but my daughter's dance season just started, and we're heavily involved in props, and I probably should have looked on that page a little bit more. So what you're saying is, though, we can get a good look into what your world looks like in the world of quad ball and that side of things.
Yes and no. I was just going to say that we always try to do a tournament takeover. So we usually try to have someone do like a day in the life of the tournament. Our tournament days usually start at like 3, 4, or 5 in the morning. And then it's usually people sleeping in the car on the way there. And things just get like hectic and busy during the games. So actually keeping up with the day in the life of the tournament may or may not happen. But I'm sure there's tons of TikToks out there, because it is a pretty big sport, despite the fact that it's not consistently talked about. Like the US Quadball account always has fun things on there. They're always like up to date with the trends. It's going to depend on the school, but at least at a tournament, the day in the life of a Pitt Quadball player is like, you're up, you're ready for action. Unless you're the one driving, you're probably falling asleep in the car on the way to the tournament. And then it's just like game, short break, game, short break, maybe 1 or 2 more games with short breaks. And then a really, really tiring car ride home.
No.
And then like 17 hours of sleep into the next day.
I don't miss college. I need my sleep.
Yeah, it's definitely super interesting. And what's so fun about our podcast is that, at least selfishly for Zach and I, we get to dive into these when we're off here.
Yeah.
Like for me, I get super, again, it's part of my personality, super geeked up, excited about this. And again, this one is, I love Harry Potter, so it's got a little bit of an edge anyway. I love sports, so then I'm like, okay, this is like a perfect collision course. And then I heard the Office thing earlier, and all I could think of is when Michael Scott was on there. It's like the worst part of prison was the Dementors. That's all I could think of. And I was like, when two worlds collide like that, it's amazing. So I have high hopes about me diving into this.
Yeah.
Yeah. You mentioned earlier that there were, I think, 2 separate captains.
Yeah.
So that immediately made me think of what's her name that said 2 people doing the same job. And then like, obviously it's different concept, but in my head, she's like 2 people doing the same job. We got to do something about that. And then the next,
Jim and Michael.
Yeah, Jim and Michael. And literally the next name you said was Jim and Kevin, which was The Office. And I literally wrote down Jim and Kevin because I was trying to come up with an Office-based joke, and then it kind of worked out with the Dundies. So I saved it.
Perfect. You gotta love it. I do know a lot of people that like both. There's a lot of Harry Potter / The Office fans that I know personally. So
proud to represent as one of them.
Awesome.
Nice.
Yeah, I have my Dundee at my actual office. It's funny that he has one in the background there too, but I feel like you have to have a Dundee. Yeah, I had to keep my
little paper printouts. We unfortunately don't have the funds to do real trophies.
No worries.
But just some fun little team recognition.
Yeah.
So there's no actual cup if you win the whole thing in college, or
we had. So I don't know about nationals, but we just had our conference championship, and one of the refs' brothers is like an engineer or a welder or something, and he made the coolest trophy I've ever seen. Just fun. So I don't know. I think the World Cup has like some kind of actual cup or trophy. But we didn't have anything for like our regionals tournament. I'm sure they do something at nationals, but I'm not sure exactly what. But for our conference championship that we just had recently, they had a cool trophy made for that one. And like we're the App 5 conference, like the Appalachian 5. So there was like little mountain ranges like melted into the metal that he used. It was awesome.
Yeah.
That's cool. Oh man.
I love it.
I think I'm gonna get downstairs and play some Hogwarts Legacy tonight. So
yeah, I wish I liked Harry Potter more, but growing up, Lord of the Rings, my favorite wizard was.
I never got into it.
See, I feel like Cody and I talked about that, like the split between the two. That down.
I think Percy Jackson goes into that too. Sometimes there's overlap between them, but sometimes there's like firm divisions. Like I was never a Percy Jackson kid, but I was always a Harry Potter kid.
Show on the new show.
There's a movie too. You talk about the movie Percy Jackson and the Olympians, or
any of them. The movies, the books. I haven't watched the show yet. I have heard the show is really good.
Yeah, it is.
But one of my best friends was like a Harry Potter Percy Jackson combo. And she was like, "You're gonna love Percy. Like you have to read the books. You have to watch the show with me." And I tried to read the books, and I just couldn't get into it.
Yeah, I feel personally, and again, this is just my opinion, but I feel like there's almost nothing that can compare to the Harry Potter series. How well written it is, how deep the storylines are, just amazing. The whole world. I don't know. Yeah. But I made fun of, and this is what I get. I was making fun of my freshman roommate. He was a huge Harry Potter fan, and I remember thinking, at 18 years old, 19, because I was at that age where it was almost childish. At the time, I was, this is stupid. And then I started to watch them. I'm like, man, these are good. And then eventually, I'm like, I became a super fan. And it's weird because it's like I'm older, and then there's a lot of people that are my age that are super fans too, and you wouldn't realize that unless you start talking to some people like, no, I'm a fan too.
Yeah, which I think is part of like my I I have some like personal heart pain in the fact that they changed the name, because it's just like, it's so fun telling people that I play Quidditch. But it is, I mean, because it is like, I mean, Harry Potter's like old news now.
I was going to say,
I
by the time
know.
that it becomes obsolete,
We're-
not that it's going to be.
Well, it'll get
Quadball,
reignited when the series comes out, right?
Yeah, true. Which will be probably good for us, but at the same, you know, on the opposite side of the token, like,
Still trying to distance yourself.
it is nice that we do have a little bit of distance now, where that doesn't have to be the only recruiting thing that we have. Like, it's not like the only cool thing about our sport is that we're the Quidditch players. Like, there is like a genuine, well-developed sport that we play. So being able to like say that and actually convince people of that with a name that's not just Quidditch, definitely gives us a little bit of a revival and looking forward to recruitment.
Nice. I'd also say that your timing was impeccable, right? You got to see the best of both worlds.
Yeah,
It's Quidditch, the evolution of it, and then now it's Quadball, and then you get to kind of keep an eye on it for years to come, right?
Yeah, I am excited that I do, because I started my first year was the last year that we were the Quidditch team. It was in between my sophomore and my junior year that they did the entire rebranding. So because I had at least 1 year, I have both Quadball and Quidditch merchandise, which is
nice.
I've got both for like my future keepsakes.
That'll be a collectible.
Oh, 100%.
Well,
Yeah,
go ahead.
I was gonna say my old Pitt Quidditch shirt that will like live in the bottom of my bins in my future.
Yeah. Well, that's something that Cody says, you know, almost every episode. There's something tangible you get from, you know, your hobby. Is that something that you kind of take from, you know, the shirts that you collect over the years, like that sort of things, that kind of where that goes?
I think my most tangible from the team is probably the socks that we wear. And I actually skipped over this during uniforms. But we have these like bright blue, yellow bumblebee soccer socks.
Nice.
And those are like the historical QC Pitt socks.
That's awesome.
That will be like my personal possession, tangible. The other one that will just always live in my mind is like this is known not only for our team, but for our conference, for many other teams historically. It is, I believe, since the founding or very close to the founding, tradition that at the end of every tournament, we take team photos. And it's always like nice little team picture in front of the hoops, and then a full team shirtless photo.
Nice.
If you saw them on our Instagram, like every tournament, there's at least one of them. And at one of our tournaments this year, like one of the refs came over to us and was like, I just need you guys to see this, so you know that this is in fact a standing tradition as pretty much as long as your team has been a team. And he like scrolled up on Facebook back to like 2009 or 2010 and showed us one of like the original QC Pitt photos of like the shirtless team.
That is so cool.
I'll at least, if not physically, tangibly, I'll at least have the digital version in my phone forever. Yeah. So those will always live with me too, as a very special team thing.
That is so cool. Oh, I mean, I don't really have a lot. My witty question was going to be about Jim and Kevin. So, do you have any other questions?
No, I mean, I'm good. This has been super informative. I'm excited to go dive into some more research here. So, thank you for joining us for sure.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Thanks for having me. Awesome. Thank you guys so much.
Absolutely. Have a great ride.
Thank you.
Thank you. Nice meeting you both.
You too.
Same to you.
Bye. Awesome.
That's right. Yeah, man. This is getting cool. It's already cool, but getting into the universities and organisms, I mean, that's a whole different world. I'm excited to look into it.
My head was taking serial killer notes again. Nice. My head was just the possibilities of where we could go. Now, with Robert's episode, we talked about the 4 pillars that we were kind of wanting to grade the hobby on. So I had to get that paper. So we talked about convenience, time commitment, the financial aspect, and the community aspect of this. Do you want to kind of recap the episode by kind of doing the star ratings, or
ratings? We did 5-star, right? And it was
that's what. Yeah.
What did we do last time? Refresh my memory.
So it was 5 stars each: convenience, time commitment, financial, and community. Each had 5 stars, and we kind of just went from least to greatest, how we graded those. So for like a convenience, for Roberts, I personally put a 2 just because listening to a record's not the easiest unless you're just staying at home all day. So where would you kind of look at with Quadball convenience, or how would you rate that? And
so for college, I'd say the convenience is almost like it's got to be a 5.
I was going to say 5. I mean, the worst part is the early mornings.
Yeah, but I'd say 5 just because it's probably not a more inclusive or available team. So for what it was in college for that, not club, later on in life, for college team, definitely 5.
I like it. Give it 5 out of 5 stars. Now for time commitment, I don't think it's something that
I'd go 4.
Require a ton of time. Yeah, I mean, it does require a lot of time. Again, I mean, it might take up your entire weekend. So, I mean, depending on how much you value your weekend, you could give it a 5. But I was gonna.
Hold on. Let me think that through. Because we need to rank them each out of 5 is the best way to do it. And average a score. So I'd say.
Kind of just try to focus. What do you mean on the app? What do you mean?
Well, I was gonna say so for that, I was going back and forth. So I'd say 4.5 for that particular category.
Yeah, that was a rookie score. I see what you're saying.
Yes.
A 4.5 out of 5 stars. Okay. The financial aspect, we didn't really get into that. So I don't know that we have a.
She said she did some fundraising. She was talking about some fundraising. She didn't just as somebody who is involved in this kind of stuff at different organizations. It didn't seem tough. So I'd give that another
funding too.
I'd give it like a 4.2.
Yeah, I was going to give that probably 4 as well.
Okay.
I'll give it 4. 4.2 works. No rookie scores, but 5 out of 5 has to stay there. Now for community, can we give it more than 5 stars?
I know that's got to be off the charts. It's about as best.
Yeah. So that's.
I mean, it's not even just that. It's community across gender, age, body size, athletic ability, interests. Yeah, 5. Absolutely, hands down.
So I think if we're going to start judging our hobbies, well, this is an all-time high out of the 2 that we've done. We're like averaging a 4.8 out of 5, and Roberts was not as high. Not a bad score, but just not as high. So for the experts, aka the pod life of Zach and Cody,
correct.
We give it a 4.8 out of 5 roughly.
Yes.
Bam, bam. Thumbs up.
It's gonna be.
Shit.
There it is.
Hey. And that's the episode. Yeah. And that wraps up another fantastic episode of Discovering Unique Hobbies, the podcast. A huge thank you out to Delaney Lindberg, team captain of the University of Pitt Club Quadball team. Her passion, second to none, and she, you can tell that she loves that team. So if you enjoyed this episode, enjoyed our talk with Delaney, learning a little bit about a new hobby, be sure to, give us a like, subscribe, hit that notification bell to stay updated on all of our latest, releases, whether they're mini shorts, reels, TikToks, or long-term interviews. Also, don't forget to leave a comment with your own hobby suggestions. We'd love to hear from you, whether it's Instagram, YouTube. We'd love to hear from you. Until next time, keep exploring those unique hobbies. Have a great night.
See you then.
Let's go.